So you finally graduated from university. Well done to you. You deserve a pat on the back. And I don't mean to say this in a condescending way. No, honestly, well done to you. Uni is tough, man. Let's all be honest. University is not easy. Now you are free. What's the next natural step? Either you take a gap year or you find a job. Well, if you are looking for a job, here are my top tips or things to consider when you are looking for a job. Like a lot of my videos, this video is not scripted. Tip number one. Salary is not everything to look for in a job. You see, when you are choosing a company who you want to work for, the first thing you really want to look into is the people in the company, because keep this in mind, these will be the people who you will be working with in, I don't know, the next few months, perhaps even years. So yeah, really company culture, the work environment, how they do things there, how they treat each other there, that's really one of the things that you should look into, because although salary is nice, you know what's even nicer is if the people who you're working with are not only nice, but people who you can actually work with. So yeah, number two, you either work for a big or small company. Well, that's entirely up to you. Here are the pros and cons for both. So currently I'm working for a small to medium size company. I don't really know, but they're not exactly big. I'll tell you, one of the nice things working for a smaller company is that you have more flexibility, more freedom. There's a bit more leeway. Now, I'm not saying I don't work hard. Okay, I work my best, but there's not a lot of micromanaging as you would typically find with bigger companies, because if you think about working for big corporations, the reason why micromanagement or stuff, I mean, I don't know, I've never worked for a big company, but this is all purely based off what I've heard from some of my colleagues who have experience working for big companies. In big companies, they can replace you just like that, like a Thanos. Why? Because they're a big company. They are a hot topic. Like, everyone wants to work for them. So if you are underperforming, if you are not doing well enough, they can just replace you just like that. Whereas if you work for smaller companies, they will do the opposite. At least for the case of my company anyway. They really want to improve. They really want you to improve. They want you to do your absolute best. They wanna help you grow. I'm not saying bigger companies will not help you grow. They just will probably not have a lot of time for that because they have too many people to manage. Whereas with smaller companies, perhaps there's more opportunities for mentorship, traineeship, stuff like that. Because there's less of you, okay? They'll care more about you. Think of it as like classrooms, right? Back in high school, notice how like your teacher, well, I don't know, not all teachers, but some teachers just seem to care more because there's less of you. What, like high school in a classroom, for me anyway, there's usually a class of like 20 to 25 pupils. You go to university, there's like 100 to 200 students, because I did engineering, so there was a lot of students. Yeah, they won't care as much because there's too many of you to care about. So that's what I can kind of compare it to when working for a bigger or a smaller company. Now, the good thing with working for a big company, on the other hand, is it looks good on your CV. It looks great, and there are more opportunities for career progression because it is a big company after all. There's a lot more room for building your career up. That's not to say working in a smaller company doesn't allow you to do that, but when you work for a bigger company, bigger companies tend to have a wider array of connections. They have more connections basically. Tip number three, location, location, location. Where you work, you know, you have to think about it. Like, there's more to life outside of work. So let's say, for example, for me, I didn't get offered it, but I was applying for a job in a place called Newark, England. I don't know where exactly that is. Oh my days, it's so warm in here. But yeah, basically it's like, I know you can't be too picky as a graduate, especially if you are someone who doesn't have a lot of experience. I mean, that's kind of the case with me anyway. I don't have a lot of engineering experience. I kind of just jumped at the first job opportunity that I got because I'm like, well, it's gonna be quite tough looking for another job. And it really is up to you, but if you have the option to pick and choose, really do consider where you're gonna be working and be open-minded about it. But you will have to consider either working in a place where there's not a lot of stuff to do, or you want to work in a place where there's a lot of stuff to do. So usually the case would be which city you would like to work in, or which city would you like to be working near at. Because if you work in the middle of nowhere, there's not going to be a lot of stuff to do. I mean, that's totally entirely up to you as a person. Like, if you're fine with that, that's fine. But at the same time, you also have to consider the experience you'll gain from this. So think of it as like sacrificing comfort, but for the better of your career progression. But yeah, those are just my top tips. So hopefully this short video was somewhat helpful. Good luck on your job hunt, and yeah, all the best.